Hi everybody. This week I'm going to be talking about bureaucracy and foreign policy. So the agenda, I'm going to explain the definition of bureaucracy, the Weberian bureaucratic model, the FSO career track, which FSO stands for Foreign Service Officer, and then the FSO application. So to begin, what is a bureaucracy? Based roughly on the textbook reading, I gathered that a bureaucracy is an institution of non-elected officials who are in charge of a specific task. So for example, like the federal government has the Department of Defense, which is in charge of defense, obviously. And then like they also have the Department of Health, which is responsible for maintaining the health of the citizens and stuff like that, basically. Next, we have the Weberian bureaucratic model, which there's a picture right there. There's six like criteria for this bureaucracy. And I'm going to explain how each one applies to the U.S. State Department and what makes the U.S. State Department a bureaucracy. So first we have Division of Labor. In the State Department, it has different bureaus responsible for different responsibilities, such as the different Foreign Service Officer career tracks. There's Consular Officer, there's Public Diplomacy, there's I actually don't remember the other ones, but they have like 5 career tracks that you can choose, and they're all responsible for a different portion of that State Department. Then we have the authority hierarchy, which basically it just means that it has different levels of authority. So it's headed by the Secretary of State, which is basically the main boss. And then under the Secretary of State, there's deputy secretaries, and then under them are undersecretaries. So like these pictures kind of demonstrate what the authority hierarchy looks like, how it goes from the main boss to a lower level to a lower level. Then we have formal selection, which basically means that they're selected for their job based on their qualifications. So this kind of connects to like the idea of the spoil system, how people were appointed for government jobs because of the connections that they had or because they supported somebody. But this is more like the merit system, which means that you're selected based on your qualifications, not because you have connections. And an example of this is that there's a difficult process to become a Foreign Service Officer, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but there's a lot of steps that you have to take in order to get this job. There are also formal rules and regulations in the U.S. State Department, which they are found in the Foreign Affairs Manual. So they're written down very clear rules that the State Department is required to follow. And then there's also subsequent handbooks, which I think just break down like the main manual more and easier, make it more accessible for their employees. Next we have impersonality, which means that the rules apply to everybody the exact same. All of the employees in the State Department are required to follow the same rules regardless of their skin color or their height or their weight or their gender. Regardless of any of that, they are required to follow the same rules. Nobody is favored or treated differently because of certain criteria. Finally, we have career orientation, which means that the managers, or in this case the Secretary of State, is not the owner of the establishment. It's just another employee who has to follow the same rules and guidelines as everybody else. They just have more authority in this case. But also, it means that the other employees have the ability to earn promotions. So like the undersecretaries or the deputy secretaries are able to move up eventually and gain a higher level. Next we have the FSO career track. So based on the videos that we watched in class, if I were to pursue an FSO position, I think I would go for the consular officer because it just sounds the most interesting to me, getting to live and work abroad and getting to work with and help people. Because like for example in the video we watched, he was explaining how he worked on an international child abduction case, which sounds really interesting, and it's like being able to just help that family and reunite the child with the parents is just it sounds really interesting to me. Then these are the general steps to apply for an FSO position. So first you have to choose a career track, whichever one you're planning to pursue. And then you have to complete the application forms and personal narratives, which the personal narratives are like mini essays that are reviewed by somebody. And then you have to take the Foreign Service Officer test, which has like questions about job knowledge, English expression, and biographical information. And then if you pass that test, then you have to pass the Foreign Service Officer assessment, which includes a case management exercise and a structured interview and group exercise. After that, you have to complete clearances, which are like medical clearances, security clearances, stuff like that. And then you will eventually be offered a job. There are a couple of preparations that you can do for this FSO application, such as studying for the test, obviously, because it is a complicated test and you need to know quite a bit of information. So you can take practice tests online, Google what is going to be on the test specifically so you can get an idea and know exactly what you need to know. And then you can also do like mock interviews with a friend, a family member, or a professional, whoever you can find, because there is an interview in the process. So practicing that would definitely make a big impact. And then somebody who I think would enjoy this type of work is my best friend Kathy, because she just really enjoys talking to people and working with people. So I think she would be best suited for the consular office, which is also the same one I picked. I just feel like we're very similar, so she has similar interests to me. And so just being able to help people like that and work abroad and be into all that, I feel like that suits her and she would enjoy it. And that's all I have, so thank you for watching.